Here is a short presentation on anthropometric data and physical activity. In Australia, we undertake a national health survey which gives us an overview into Australia's health status. This was conducted by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and the most recent one, which this presentation is based upon, is from 2014 to 2015. The Australian Bureau of Statistics is a reliable, known and trusted source of information provided by the Australian Government, and it's used for many research and educational purposes in Australia. The survey, conducted between July 2014 to June 2015, was conducted in all states and territories and across urban, rural and remote areas of Australia, which included around 19,000 people. This provides data for a comprehensive overview into the Australian population. Anthropometric data includes weight, height and waist measurements. It is a useful tool to measure the likelihood of some health-related risks. The National Health Survey brought to our attention that a concerning number, 61%, of Australian adults are overweight or obese. This equates to 3 out of 5 adults. So it is really important to monitor how Australians measure up to identify high-risk groups and recognise the characteristics associated with these physical attributes. Anthropometric data is important for all the Lunch Bunch members to understand so that meals are planned with both individual and population nutritional guidelines and recommendations being considered. It is important to take into account the different anthropometric measurements when looking into someone's nutritional or weight status. Just because two people may be the same height and the same weight, does that mean they both carry the same risk factors for cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, etc.? Before you ever take any anthropometric or physical activity information, you do need to explain to the client what is involved. The client must have provided consent, and you do need to ensure that you are maintaining your professionalism throughout. We will now go through some common and easy ways to measure anthropometric data and give you the opportunity to measure someone through. When measuring someone's height, ask them to remove their shoes and their hats. Get them to stand against the wall with their legs straight and their heels and knees together. If they can, get their head, shoulders and heels to touch the back of the wall. This is to ensure that they are standing as upright as possible. The arms are to be freely by their sides, and when taking the measurement, have the client inhale. Record this to the nearest 0.1 of a centimetre. When measuring someone's weight, use scales on a hard, flat surface. The client is to be in loose-fitting clothing. Ask them to remove their shoes and get them to stand comfortably with their weight distributed amongst both of their feet. Ensure that they're not holding onto the wall and they're not assisted, and record this to the closest 0.1 of a kilogram. When measuring someone's waist circumference, get them to remove clothing by their waist and their hips. They are to be standing upright, relaxed, with their arms by their side and their feet together. Determine the smallest horizontal narrowing between the bottom of their rib cage and iliac crest. Position the tape to be on the narrowest point of their waist, and their tape is to touch the skin, but it's not to squeeze it in. The tape is to remain horizontal, and you are to get the client to breathe out and relax. Measure at the end of the breath. Record this to the nearest 0.1 of a centimetre. Healthy waistlines are less than 94 centimetres for men and 80 centimetres for women. Risky health waistlines are anything greater than these figures. How did your waist measurement fare? And do you believe that this is an accurate representation of your health status or your health risk? For adults aged between 18 to 64, it is recommended to undertake 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity or 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity physical activity a week. For adults aged over 65, it is recommended to participate in physical activity daily, aiming to do at least 30 minutes a day. Their physical activities should include a range of movements that include fitness, strength, balance and flexibility. How did your physical activity levels go? Do you meet the suggested criteria? From the National Health Survey, it was found that 52% of adults aged 18 to 64 were not sufficiently active, and for adults over 65, 75% of those were not active. For a final note, it is important to take into consideration an overall picture of someone's health. We are to remember that there's also numerous factors at play, including measurement error, reporting error and bias, to name a few. Although in saying this, Australia still alarmingly has some way to go in improving their overall health and physical activity status. For further information, visit the Heart Foundation for information on waist circumference, visit the HEAL program for information on both healthy eating and activity levels, and the Sports Oz page for tips on increasing your physical activity levels. Thanks for listening.